The mid-90s were a transitional time for the World Wrestling Federation.
No one can touch it!
Gone were the days of saying your prayers and taking your vitamins, brother, of the Hulkamania era. And just beyond the horizon was the crotch-chopping, beer-drenched, attitude era. The new generation era found itself wedged in between these two fondly remembered times, and like the company itself, their action figures were also in a transitory period.
You gotta love new WWF figures!
In 1994, the Hasbro line of toys had run its course after 4 years and 11 successful series.
WWF figures so close to the real thing, it's like being in the ring.
Big match at my house. I'll bring my guys, you have yours.
And the Federation's LJN series had been dead for over 5 years.
Each sold separately from LJN.
The official WWF action figures with bone-crunching action.
The much-beloved Jakks bone-crunching action figures didn't debut until 1996.
Championship series featuring title belts, only at Toys R Us.
So what did the WWF do in the interim between the end of the Hasbro era and the beginning of the BCA era? One could say their next toy line was a combination of the two previous ones. So, what do you get when you fuse the rubbery goodness of an LJN and the quasi-posability of a Hasbro? Well, my friends, you get the WWF Just Toys Bendems line.
With these WWF figures for a while, check out those pythons!
So before we dive into the WWF Bendems toy line proper, we gotta find out what exactly a Bendem is. Is it just molded rubber over a metal wire frame? Or is there more underneath? Well, like a 7th grade science class, let's dissect one and find out. Our specimen today is the universe's most disposable being, a stormtrooper.
What? Alright, as you can see, this stormtrooper has a really dope picture of Darth Vader on the card. It even has its own top Star Wars Galaxy bonus trading card inside. It's also bendable, collectible, and posable, and in just a moment, it's gonna be stabbable. Remember folks, this is for science. Ooh, cool.
Yeah, it's just a molded rubber over wireframe.
Gentlemen, we can rebuild him. We have the technology.
Wreak havoc with the Lord, working soda machine, and a flushing toilet.
WWF Bendems were made by Just Toys, and when putting this video together, I spent quite a lot of time trying to research this company and came up mostly empty. Today there does exist a Just Toys International, so I figured I'd reach out and see if they were one and the same. I looked up and shouted, "Hey, are you guys the company that made the Bendems?" And they looked down and whispered, "No." Well, I was able to find out that the Just Toys that made the Bendems was in business from 1988 to 2001. But their initial lines of toys with licenses like Marvel and DuckTales were known as Twistables. And Just Toys even made Twistables for WWF's main wrestling rival at the time, WCW. During the time of the WCW releases, the brand name was changed from Twistables to Bendems. This is a Bendem. One of the things I like about the packaging is the hand-drawn character in the upper right-hand corner on every figure. Flip it on over and every figure comes with a hand-drawn trading card. And here is the Bendem itself. Another cool thing about the Bendem is the Superstar's autograph molded onto the back.
You call that trash talking? This is trash talking. Jericho.
Bendems hit the shelves in 1994. Series 1 consisted of Bret the Hitman Hart, Diesel, Razor Ramon, Doink, and Lex Luger. Man, these figures are dirty as hell. What do you expect though? This channel only has like 40 subscribers. I can't afford the mint on cards or anything else. But what I can do though is give them a Zack Ryder patented figure bath. Let's try this one more time. Series 1 consisted of Bret the Hitman Hart, Diesel, Razor Ramon, Doink, and Lex Luger. And all 5 were pretty much consistent with what was found on advertising at this time. According to this image, we can see that Series 2 was to feature the 1-2-3 Kid, The Undertaker, the British Bulldog, Mabel, and Adam Bomb. But what consumers actually got was slightly different. For starters, the deco on Mabel was altered. No longer did his gear say Mom or MOM for the tag team he was in, Men on a Mission. The letters were changed to a star on his upper left-hand torso. The 1-2-3 Kid's gear was also changed. The advertisement had him in a purple outfit with red and yellow accents. The release figure had the former Lightning Kid in red gear with white accents and yellow lettering. And as for Adam Bomb, well, that figure was never released. There even exists concept art of the figure and the trading card that was supposed to be on the back. And upon Series 2's release, the image on the back of the box has both Mabel and 1-2-3 Kid's deco changed to the colors they were released as, and the Adam Bomb figure is gone completely. Along with Series 2 release, a Bendem Super Slam ring was set to come out as well, and with it, a Dink Mini Bendem. But just like Adam Bomb, the Dink figure was never released. Also like Adam Bomb, the concept art exists for this one too. The ring, though, was eventually released with 2 different versions, one with the classic WWF logo with red, white, and blue ropes, and one with the WWF Scratch logo with all red ropes. Almost all versions of the ring come with 2 figures, and getting the ring was the only way to get the Paul Bearer Bendem figure. WWF Bend-ems had 15 sets in total and ran from 1994 to 2001, well into the Jakks era of figures. If we use the backs of the cards as reference, out of the 63 figures released in the base sets 1 through 15, 58 of them were unique characters or gimmicks. Only 4 characters got re-releases. The Undertaker, who had 3 different Bendems, one in his early 90s gear, one in his late 90s gear, and one with his Ministry Taker gimmick. Stone Cold, Mankind, and The Rock each had 2 releases. Stone Cold had one with his ring gear and one with his Austin 316 shirt. Mankind had his mid-90s gimmick released, as well as a corporate Mankind complete with Mr. Socko. And the exact same Rock figure was released in Series 14 and 15. There are some anomalies, however, as there exists a Series 5 Rock figure with the Bendem used in the aforementioned Series 14 and 15. And a blue and yellow shirted Rock was released with the Series 5 stamp as well. The same Stone Cold that was released in Series 5 was released in Series 10. The Series 13 Stone Cold has an Austin 316 shirt on the image on the back of the card, but the actual Series 13 release had Austin in a skull shirt, and the 316 shirt was released in Series 12 with no image of Austin on the back of the card. Quick bit of trivia, the Bendems line is the only way to get the Disciples of Apocalypse version of Crush. With his many gimmicks over the years, Crush appeared 3 times in the previous Hasbro era. Once as Demolition Crush, once as Kona Crush, and once as Evil Japanese Sympathizer Crush. But the DOA gimmick has never been released in any other line except the Bendems line. Crush even had a Jakks Bone Cruncher release, and both the Bendem and the Bone Cruncher released in the exact same year in 1997.
The Bushwhackers win! Yeah!
Like any good toy line, the Bendems came with its own accoutrement, so to speak. I already spoke about the Bendems rings, but Bendems also had a toy line called Bendems Gear, which had their figures come with accessories such as ladders, trash cans, and chairs. Released in 2000, the gear line consisted of 9 figures in total, and for the most part offered buyers more unique figures. The gear line had different deco for all the figures. Chris Jericho had purple accents on his pants instead of the silver and gold from the base set. Kane had his color swapped from his base set version. Road Dogg now had D-Generation X deco. The Rock had 2 figures in the set, one with the yellow and blue shirt, one with the black and white shirt, and the gear line also gave us some unique gimmick changes to already existing figures. The base set Matt and Jeff Hardy were in their Brood gimmick, whereas the gear set turned them into their Hardy Boys gimmick, and the Hunter Hearst Helmsley figure had been drastically changed into the Triple H gimmick. The gear set also had weapon exclusive packs released called Raw Material. The Canadian versions of the Bendems had different packaging than the American versions and didn't include the collector's card on the back. And the Champions line, which were just re-releases of various figures throughout the Bendems library, were both featured in packaging that also didn't have a card on the back, and eventually the cheaper option with plastic bags.
Come on. Hey.
Multipacks were also released. Famous Fights features various rivalries happening at the time, including Bret Hart vs. Stone Cold, Undertaker vs. Mankind, and the much revered Farouk vs. Ahmed Johnson. The electronic body slam sets came with various combinations of figures and included an electronic ring that made noises when you pressed a button. The damage sets included multiple figures with some gear accessories, and the Championship, Powerhouse, and Rumble sets had anywhere between 4 and 7 figures.
So these girls want to slam dance? Well...
During the wrestling boom of 1998, Just Toys began releasing micro Bendems. Much like the unreleased Dink figure, these micros stood around 3 inches tall as opposed to the 5 inches of a normal Bendem. In all, 16 different micros were released. All were unique characters except for 2 versions of Stone Cold. The micro Bendems had the distinction of having 2 unique figures to the set, as the Kurgan, known here as the Interrogator, and the Gangrel figures were not released in the 15 base sets. This new line of figures also came with its fair share of accessories. The Steel Cage Wrestling Ring came with 4 different minis, as well as the Attitude sets that came with micro versions of the gear accessories. 2 packs of the micros could be found in the Neck Wrench, Pile Driver, Royal Rumble, Body Slam, and Warzone sets, as well as the Micro Slammer rings. And the JCPenney exclusive Rumble set came with 10 micro figures. 8 different micro Bendems were also released as keychains and magnets.
It's just like being in a wrestling ring.
A few odds and ends I picked up while doing further research. There was a trial run of Series 1 sold prior to their initial release date. For just 2 days, on March 19th and 20th, 1994, during the WrestleMania 10 Fan Fest, the entirety of Series 1 could be purchased. Instead of the normal Bendems packaging, these were sold in sealed plastic bags with barcode stickers. As of writing this, there's an eBay auction with a buy it now price of $575 for the entire set, a testament to the rarity of these figures. There exist 2 colors of the Bret Hart Series 1 figure, one with purple gear and one with pink gear. Like the extra releases of The Rock and Stone Colds mentioned earlier, there's a Triple H figure on a Series 9 and Series 14 card released as part of Series 6. Whereas the gear version of Triple H is a complete redeco of the figure, this version is the same Hunter Hearst Helmsley figure with just the name on the packaging changed to Triple H. A few earlier figures were released in Series 8 and Series 13 purple packaging, but with no series listed for these particular Bendems. These include a Series 1 Lex Luger, a Series 4 Vader, and a Series 5 Mankind and Farouk. And with any toy line, factory errors will happen, like these miscarded Taka on a Kane card and a Rocky Maivia on a Farouk card. As far as I can tell, the Just Toys Bendems line proper, WWF or otherwise, ended after WWF Series 15. I have found Mighty Beans Bendems, produced in 2004 by a company called Just Products, based out of Hawaii, but information on that company seems just as scarce as Just Toys. The actual Bendems line does live on today, however, and are produced by Sunny Days Entertainment, with licenses such as Battlestar Galactica, Ren and Stimpy, Voltron, Family Guy, and Bob's Burgers.
Our 3 figures have real scale, and real reaction.
For those of you looking to start a Bendems collection, you can find most of them on the secondary market for around 10 to 20 bucks a piece. But the later series do have higher asking prices. The exceedingly rare and incredibly elusive Series 15 figures of Taz, Rikishi, Grandmaster Sexay, and Scotty 2 Hotty recently sold for ridiculous prices, with Taz and Rikishi going for over $300 a piece, while an auction for both Grandmaster Sexay and Scotty 2 Hotty together sold for a crazy $910. Be aware that these figures are loose and not in their packaging, so be prepared to pay a pretty penny to get a complete collection of Bendems.
I almost missed some finish Hogan guaranteed.
Bendable figures are still being released today. Mattel currently holds the WWE license and in 2018 released their Flextreme line of toys, featuring only 4 characters: Finn Balor, Roman Reigns, The Rock, and John Cena. These figures stand about 3 1/4 inches tall and are grossly out of proportion.
You ready to crunch somebody's bones? I knew that you were.
So, avoiding a sob story, growing up, my family didn't have a lot. As a matter of fact, one Christmas, the only gift I did receive that year was a Series 5 Rocky Maivia. So, because of that, the Bendems definitely holds a special place for me. So while you may love the LJNs, the Hasbros, the Basics, or even the Elites, I'll definitely choose a Bendem over one of those any day of the week.